Hi there. For those of you who don't know me, I am Jaidyn, and I am a street poet. I write about the things I see on the street and turn them into narrative poetry. And sometimes I go around sticking my poetry up in places for people to find. I've already gone over what street poetry is in previous videos, so in this video, I want to break down my process into a series of steps so that you too can write street poetry. Welcome back to another video about street poetry here in Melbourne. I am here with Nate, Can of Thoughts on Instagram. I'm also here with Archer, who you've probably seen before. And we're going to hit the streets. And I'm going to show you how to write a street poem step by step. So let's find somewhere dry because it's raining at the moment, and we are going to find a stranger to watch and write about. Let's go. Let's go. Step 1. Consider your location. To be able to write street poetry, you need to be on the street. This doesn't have to mean in the middle of the busy city. Not everyone just happens to have a city at their doorstep. You can find somewhere in your neighborhood, anywhere that you can get comfortable sitting or somewhere that you can wander. You want to make sure that you have a good view of these places and the people that pass through them. Because the whole idea is that you are an observer, existing in a stationary in-between state of watchfulness and wonder. My favourite spot for watching people is outside the General Post Office in Melbourne, an old building that has been repurposed into a clothing store. Step 2. Adjust to the place. Get used to the space that you have chosen. Begin to notice anything that you can. Signs, weather, the moods of the people around you. Are there billboards? What do they say? Get comfortable and you will tune into your environment, and before long, the stories will come to you. Step 3. Observe your surroundings. This is where the fun begins. You will learn to harness the use of observation the more you practice doing this. Pay attention to the people passing by. Are they students? Workers? Where do you think they might be going? What's on their minds? Do you think this is part of their everyday routine, or are they simply passing through for some other reason? You can begin taking notes about the things you notice, searching for the beginnings of your story. It's important to realize that people and things that seem mundane at first can actually be great examples for street writing. The whole point is to capture a snapshot, a vignette, a slice of life moment in time, inspired by real life. Step 4. Find your characters. If you're in a populated area, the chances are you're going to notice someone who strikes your attention for some reason or another. Concentrate on this person, without staring them down like a maniac, of course. Eavesdrop on their conversation if you have to, and document snippets of dialogue. Or try to make deductions based on what you can observe. Are they wearing a yellow scarf or smoking in a no-smoking area? Are they drunk and stumbling up the street, raving on about some ex-partner? Continue taking notes, searching for oddities and peculiar traits that you think are worth noticing. These people are going to become your characters, the faces in your writing. Step 5. Use your notes. Now is where you get to use the notes from your observations and turn them into a story. You can choose to include yourself as the viewpoint character, especially if you want to bring across a level of subjectivity, or omit yourself and keep things omniscient and matter-of-fact. You can turn your notes into a scene between two characters interacting, or one person observing what another person is doing. You can recall dialogue or describe the scenery. and take us through a thought, a place, or a story from point A to point B. Street poetry can work in a similar way to traditional narrative forms. It doesn't have to be a strict form with rhyme and meter, but it should definitely have a sense of rhythm. Find your rhythm and use your notes to tell a story using whatever style suits you. Maybe you're a minimalist. Maybe you like to use metaphors or imagery. Maybe you want to keep things raw and bare bones. The choice is up to you. Here's a street poem that I wrote after observing strangers with Nate and Archer. A smoke alarm is going off, silent to you, loud in my head, as the humans trail on by in the no smoking zone, and one man didn't get the message. Away he puffs those billowing clouds as he waits for his tram by the stop. And who is there to stop him? Who tells him no, don't smoke? He chimneys around mindless and puffs away the grey afternoon, smoking in the no smoking zone, until it's time to go. And here's a street poem that I wrote when Nate, Archer and I visited a Catholic bookshop, completely out of curiosity, hoping to find a story locked away in the house of biblical tales. It's not really written about the streets, but it's one of the places we found while wandering in search of street stories, so I think it's worthy of telling. We find ourselves freezing on the Melbourne streets and look to stores for warmth. The stationery shop, the sushi restaurant, the Catholic bookstore. We choose the Catholic bookstore and enter teeth gritty and timid, 3 mice entering the cat's playroom. It's warm in here, but the heater isn't why I feel like I might burn to ashes on the spot. Time freezes inside these walls, only crawling on outside the glass. The sparse clinical shelves and the stench of propaganda blowing in from the heater. Behind the counter, they watch, those hawk-eyed bookstore clerks, and they know what we all know, that we do not belong here. I browse the shelves in silence, too shy to disturb God's quiet, and read the titles of the books. Liberalism is a sin, Breaking Bread with the Dead, The Catholic Guide to Depression, The Genesis of Gender, Speaking for the Unborn, 30-second pro-life rebuttals to pro-choice arguments. By now I catch a musty whiff of prowling clerks in the aisles, sniffing for heretic behaviour, dogs on the hunt for rabbits. But I don't fear these mortals and their words of righteous rationale. I grab my buddies and duck out of the timeless, otherworldly Catholic bookstore and back into the crawling grey cold of the streets of Melbourne. And there you have it. Now you have a street poem. You can do whatever you like with it. You could stick it on your bedroom wall, or even on an alley wall somewhere out there in the world. Or you can stick it in a drawer and write another street poem, and then another. That's what I did, and somehow I now have a published book full of street poems. Have fun story hunting. I'm sure you're going to stumble across something epic one of these days, and you'll have it contained in a time capsule, a permanent record, preserved in poetry form.